Australia has quite a lot of politicians. We know about the more than 150 that are in the lower house and the 6 different senators from each of the different states, a couple from the different territories. And all day, every day, these are the people who get to tell us how we have to live, and all of them pretend that they can feel our pain, even though, as I have told you many times before, there have been 3 pay rises in the first term of the Albanese government. The first one was 2.75%. The second one was their biggest they had received in a decade. And just last year, the second biggest pay rise in the last decade. They are well and truly well remunerated. As millions of Australians work harder than ever for what feels like less money at the end of the pay cycle, let alone Australia being in a per capita recession for most of the past 3 years, getting ready for more of the same for the next 3 years. Because of productivity, and don't worry, I won't be going into great detail about productivity tonight, our living standards are down to 1959. And despite the fact of all of this, despite the fact of cost of living crisis, despite the fact of, and it's exactly the same after the election as it was before the election, of 3 million people this close to homelessness, of more than 3 million households that will have run out of food most probably by this time, each and every week. A disgraceful decision has been made to give our politicians another freaking pay rise. The 4th since the Labor Party won in 2022, and just so happened to be timed weeks after a federal election. We learned today that the Remuneration Tribunal has given another 2.4%, now meaning that the Prime Minister is going to get an extra $14,500 a year, on top of the last pay rise, the one before that, and the one before that. No wonder these people are cock-a-hoop. So happy to be part of the club. Now, years ago, a decision was made because, of course, politicians, if they were in charge of their own pay, there'd be blowback. But now an independent tribunal, the Remuneration Tribunal, is the one that decides whether the politicians of Australia deserve a pay rise. And they've come out with their determination, and here are some details about it. Anthony Albanese and other politicians are set for a plumbed-up pay packet. The Prime Minister will go from $607,000 a year to $622,000. He did nothing to deserve the pay rise. A backbencher will now go from $233,000 to $239,000, while the opposition leader will go up by $10,000 to $442,000. That, of course, because she was not the previous leader at the last election. So she gets the loading that takes her to more than $400,000. Someone who will be earning even more than the alternative Prime Minister is the bloke who considers himself to be the next Prime Minister. Jim Chalmers, the one who feels your pain, the one who says he needs not just this election but another election before they can put in place what's needed to fix the country. $448,000. Cabinet ministers, including a lot of the freeloaders and the free riders that we've talked about over the years, is now $412,000. What a disgrace. These people are already earning a big chunk of change. On top of that, they have staff who, including, were given extra staff in the last parliament so they could film themselves for TikTok videos, despite the fact that TikTok is banned by the Australian government. They, of course, have the printing allowances. They've got the ability to walk into Parliament and defame anyone they want because they're a special breed of human. But there's even more detail which is going to annoy you, because it's not just a pay rise for politicians. You see, the same people who got the same 3 pay rises of the last term in Parliament are very senior public servants. The public servants that are already paid more than the Prime Minister or the Minister of the day of which they are supposedly answerable to. These people have all of the same travel entitlements. They're all the ones flying up the front of the plane. These are all the people who think they are more important than you and I and the independent tribunal, bangs in the 4th pay rise in 3 years for these people. Unbelievable. Australians are going backwards to a standard of living that is back in 1959. Hunger, homelessness, hard work. These people, 4 pay rises since 2022. Unbelievable. See, this is another example of what I banged on about for a long time, and I don't care if I'm going to be the last soldier left after the war or I'll be the one stuck on an island still yelling into the sky. The plan of the modern machine is that you will be dependent on government. The way that centre-left or even wilder-left governments like Andrews in Victoria, Palaszczuk in Queensland, Cook in Western Australia, the way they run the system is they want a triangle of dependency, where the majority of the country has its hand out for welfare, and any suggestion of it being pulled back would mean never vote for a change in government. More people than ever before work for the government, getting pay rises like 4 in 3 years, which means any suggestion of a reduction in that means don't change the government. And then anyone in private industry, your biggest client is supposed to be the local, state or federal government, because then you too will not rock the boat. And if you set up that triangle, you don't just go past 50%, you get to 60%, you get to 70% of the country who will never change the government. As long as everyone doesn't rock the boat, the tide rises for all that are inside the triangle. For everyone outside who is having to work harder to pay for more of it, just shut up and keep paying. Honestly, this is an absolute disgrace. Wouldn't it be wonderful if just a single person in the system said, no, I don't want it? And there have been examples of premiers in different states saying, no, thanks for the advice, but not on our watch, it's not going to take place. Simple test of whether the newly, freshly re-elected forever Prime Minister and his ministers truly care about those that are doing it tough. But of course, you and I both know this will be the extent of the conversation.